The oldest rivalry in cricket is back. I'm not sure if we can call it the biggest rivalry ever, but here in Australia, on their home turf, will play against England just before the World Cup begins. As they look to yet again regain the ashes again and again and again. I don't remember the last time when England had the ashes. I am joined by Kalyani for company here on the preview of the ashes, which starts tomorrow. Kalyani, your first thoughts? Is it again Australia no brainer, or just because the T20s are first, England do have a lot of chance?
There are two things we have to keep in mind. Yes, the T20s are first, and if we look at the record, like purely on the record basis, England has a little bit edge over Australia in the T20 department. And we should not forget the only match that Australia lost of the 2019 Ashes was the last T20. So there is that issue. On the other hand, it's something on the lines of the most important T20 player for Australia, that is Beth Mooney, and we have all seen her record. She's the only person to score 8 T20 50s, and entire team has scored 7. So the injury, unfortunate injury to Beth Mooney, has again pushed a pendulum little bit towards England. But let's not forget that whatever little glimpses we saw from the practice matches, Ashley Gardner has found her form back. Tyler Mogera has never been out of form, and all the other players are looking right. Plus, they have Megan Shoot back, who is setting a 96 T20 wickets. So that's going to be a tussle between all these sides. And I still believe, with the number one ranked T20 bowler in Sophie Eccleston, England do have edge in the T20 battle.
England do have the edge in the T20I battle. If we just go by the numbers head to head in T20Is in Australia, there have been 14 games played. 6 have been won by Australia, 7 by England, and there has been a tie. So England clearly just a little bit up, but I'm sure Aussies, the way they come up, they will want to just start it with 3-0, get those 6 points down. But yes, with T20I starting, yes, there is a lot of chances of England doing well just up front. Let's come down to that injury list. Australia, something which they would not want to have, but there is a huge injury list. First, Wareham ruled out for what, 6 months, 9 months? We don't even know. Sophie Molyneux ruled out of the Ashes. She may return for that World Cup, but there is that minor chance. And then the third just happened yesterday. Beth Mooney being ruled out of what, the Ashes. Will we see her in the World Cup? Even Mott was not sure. So yeah, three big injuries, huge. But Australia still maybe way ahead of England.
The thing is, the injuries that they have gone through, Australia has gone through, they have found more or less the perfect replacements. In case of Wareham and Molyneux, that Jonathan will be back, and they have found a option in Alana King. The biggest worry for them probably will be Beth Mooney's injury, because she bats at the top, and she can more or less balance the side, the handle the pressure that is on the other players. So that is a very unfortunate injury. And Matthew Mott, when he did the press conference, he sounded very disappointed with the way the injury happened. And given the injury list that has been updating throughout the India Australia series, at the one time it felt like all the other players that were there available to them, they'll come on field to field, like Molly Strano fielded in the last ODI, and the list continued. Rachel Haynes will be back from the injury. Jess Jonathan will be back from the injury. The injury cloud has just been around Australia for a very long time, but the backup that they have, I think they have all got it covered. And we'll just have to see what Australia comes up as a replacement of Beth Mooney. That's their biggest challenge heading into, especially T20, with T20 as starting first. I think that's probably their biggest challenge.
Let me pose two questions. First, who's the replacement for Beth Mooney tomorrow in that first T20? Are we going to see McLaren open the innings? Potentially, are we going to see Georgia Redman making a debut? Are we going to see Ellis Villani making a return to international cricket? What of these three options, or do you have a fourth option there?
I like, given their history and their borderline obsession with left hand left right hand combinations right away, so starting from the openers, I am thinking, and given her experience in the other formats also, I'm thinking they'll just go with Rachel Hans at the opening. She has done the job, and
But Haynes did not open
yes,
yesterday
yeah,
in both the Australia versus Australia A games.
given the openers were Tyler Magra and Meg Lanning. So in the practice matches that happened, one match I think Magra opened, and other match Lanning opened. Given their idea of how left hand and combination works, I'm still thinking, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking, given her experience also, they might just go with Rachel Haynes at the opening. If because all the other options, Georgia Redmayne can be a possibility. I'll probably be the happiest person if Georgia Redmayne gets the debut cap. Left-hander, Queenslander, wicket-keeper, ticks all the boxes you need from an ideal player to open, has opened in the past. But I'm not 100% sure if that will happen.
Okay, so Kalyani says it's Haynes. Let's see. There are still three other options. There's Redmayne, there's Villani, there's maybe Lannon. We see open the innings that just happened yesterday in the Australia versus Australia A game. Another question: do you see this 15 or whatever is going to travel down to the World Cup? Because with the number of injuries increasing, is this the only way that Australia will be stopped from winning the World Cup?
Even if you look at I'll answer the second question first. Even if you look at the Australia A side they have, like, let's start with the one of the biggest name that is there in the Australia A squad, and that is your Liz Villani. And given the form that she has been throughout the WNCL, throughout the WBBL, there is that kind of confidence in her as a player also, and given her leadership qualities that she has, which is kind of a big tick mark if you are coming back to the Australian setup. Even if that happens, I think they have a realistic chance to be in the final of the World Cup. And if you look at, they are going with left and right hand combination. You still have Georgia Redmond, excellent WNCL, excellent WBBL. And then if they go with Georgia Redmond, then you have your backup wicket keeper as well. So even after, with all these injury concerns, they are still strong enough. It's obviously going to be the test of their endurance and test of their depth. But I think that just I think the whoever plays better against them, the probably best game of their career in against Australia is going to win, and we have seen that against India. I mean, we all remember what Julan Goswami did, so it's difficult to answer.
Let's come to do 2 months before. Let's come tomorrow. Let's see who's making their debut. I'll throw in the first name. I feel Charlie Dean is making her debut for England tomorrow for sure. Heather Knight told it in the press conference. She was very vocal about Dean. So Dean most likely is making her debut. Any other players you see potentially making their debut during the series? It's a 7-match long series, 3 T20Is we start with in Adelaide. Then there is a test match. Then there are 3 ODIs. So a long series. It's a 7-match series. It's what, 6 + 4, 10-day series. 3 Adelaide, then test match in Canberra, first ODI in Canberra, and second and third ODIs in Melbourne. So 3 venues, 7 matches. Any other names you feel potentially making their debuts during the entire series?
I kind of have a wish list, but not for ODIs or T20s. Personally, my preferred form is the longest form Test cricket. And at Canberra, the beautiful location that it is, I would love to see somehow. I know the balance and all how Australians go with it. I would love to see Hannah Darlington getting her baggy green. She'll be the third Indigenous player to play for Australia in the Test. But just given, I mean, they would obviously like to manage the workload of all of their bowlers in Brown and Walemek, even Megan Schutt and Elise Perry going into the World Cup. So there are spots, definitely spots available, and I think Darlington will be my choice. Just personal preference, if I may. And given all the performance that has happened in England A side against the England side in the practice matches that happened, Natalie Sever said in her press conference yesterday also that they have pushed the envelope for the selection. So I'm not 100% sure if anyone from the England A side will get the opportunity to play for the national side in these in the Ashes. If the T20Is were to be played last, maybe like 1% of the chance was Alice Capsey making her T20I debuts. But now the T20Is are starting the whole game. The chances of that are limited. So that's I think that's from my side.
Just to update to our viewers, alongside the Ashes, there is also an Australia A versus England A tournament that's going to be played, three one days, three T20s. So it's also a six-match series that's going to happen. So a lot of the players will be asked to maybe double up. So for example, if we say Redman opening the innings tomorrow for Australia, she may well captain the Australia A team a day later. So that's how it's all going to be. Let's come down to that test match, big test match, Canberra. These two teams have regularly played a test every 2 years, so they know each other. But test match, I think so. Let's only talk about Ellis Perry because that's where the test match changes. That's where this format is all about her. A lot of people are saying that, oh, okay, Ellis Perry, are we moving ahead of Ellis Perry, the phenomenal player or everything? But that's limited to T20s. Let's not count her out in that test match. Let's talk about that test match. Canberra, beautiful venue. Australia have recently played against India. England have recently played against India, the most recent times. But yeah, it was India who just played a bit better than both the teams in that test match. So of course, both of them play. So for being the second best team, if I have to put it out,
It's the test match is going to be tricky about then two things I believe for both teams is to manage their resources and mainly their fast bowlers. The rotation is going to be key for both teams with England with Catherine Brunt and Anya Shrubsole and other bowlers as well. So the most interesting thing about the Manuka Oval is that it's Heather Knight's favorite ground. She became the first player to secure the all format centuries at that place. She scored a century against Thailand in the World Cup. She was phenomenal against Australia at that same place. It's also Danny Wyatt's favorite place. So we might just see her edge out in the test team. The test match, the Elise Perry phenomena that has happened in the Ashes tests for so long time, basically I believe that that's her format, and she gets the license to be defensive and attacking at the same time. And one of my most remembered thing about that 2017 Ashes was the way she defended, which was difficult for many batters across 4 days that were played in there. And this being the day test, it's not going to be day night one like happened in India series. So it the test experience whatever Australia had, it's kind of limited compared to what England had because they played the day match. And the I mean other factors remaining constant, rain for example, that can be the biggest worry in Australia. We've seen in the men's Ashes as well. I think that will be a cracking game given the wicket that Canberra has to offer. I hope it becomes one of the classic hits, and Elise Perry, fingers crossed, she does something magical that we have never seen before.
let's come down to the players to watch out for. Let's pick two each players from each teams. Let's not go more. Seven-match series. Who's your player for England? I'm
I
not asking
will
Australia right now.
I'll go with Tammy Beaumont. The form she has been throughout the New Zealand series. Currently, she's the only current player who are playing. The only two player have more centuries than her. That's Susie Bates and Meg Lanning. She's setting on 8 centuries. Then the record that she has, especially since the last ODI World Cup, she has played every match that ODI match that England have played. And
But that's an easy answer. Tammy Beaumont, I think so. Everyone is going to count, even English people. They're like, okay, oh, Tammy Beaumont is going to do well. Who's that player who's going to come back and say that, oh, okay, maybe people have forgotten, maybe people don't know me, but I am the player to watch out for.
if all these big, it's been her favorite hunting ground for a very long time, so I'm gonna put my money on Danny White. The player for me to watch for is like, it has been with her batting position and the way she fought in the final ODI against New Zealand when things were tricky for England, and the spirit that she's shown. I think she's the player to watch out for. And we all know what she did at the Manuka Oval. Like, they are playing the test, and if she gets the chance, the fighting spirit that she has, I think she's one of the players to watch. And also, given the amount of work that these players have done in their pre-season and all, and given how they played throughout the domestic season, just adding one player to that list, I'd love to see Charlie Dean go about her business. She has been excellent. Whatever little she has given the opportunities, she has been excellent. Let's see. Let's hope we see more from her.
So Charlie Dean, most likely to make a debut tomorrow, and both the openers for England, Danny White and Tammy Beaumont, are the players to watch out for Kalyani. I won't ask her Australia because that's too much for her. I would love to see the return of Megan Shoot in that Australian jersey. She's going to be one of the top players for this season. In absence of Beth Mooney, a lot depends on Meg Lannon because she has been out of form. She did play well in that Australia A game, but overall, if you look at things, the last 6 months she hasn't been in great form. She would want to come back to form ahead of that World Cup. Ashes means a lot to the Aussies, so that's going to be very important. So let's see how Lannon and Shoot, the two seasoned campaigners, see the Australian side from tomorrow. Let's keep There's a World Cup focus. A lot of players or coaches we guys have been speaking to have been saying that no, it's one game at a time. It's the Ashes. But deep down inside, everybody knows that they are playing the World Cup. Deep down inside, everybody knows that Ashes is a preparation for the World Cup. What do you think is going to be the strategy, the plan? Are a lot of combinations going to be tried and tested during the Ashes so that the teams are ready about how to use, what to use, when to use during the World Cup?
It's going to be, I think, two things that will matter the most. The one is, of course, the workload management, given the frequency of matches that's going to happen. So they'll play these matches in a very limited amount of time. There'll be a quarantine in New Zealand. There'll be a break for a longer amount of time, and then the World Cup, they're playing the matches frequently again. So that start and stop thing that's going to happen in the World Cup. So in when we look at it that way, the workload management becomes the utmost priority. And given the combinations that they might use in the World Cup, there is of course going to be try and testing things right now. Given the way Australia works, I think the trying and testing will be very limited, and the resources that they have at their hand, I think that it puts them in a tricky position where to try and where to rest the players. So I think England is going to go with more trying and testing with, especially with their bowling, because it's a need of the time for the team. Australia, I feel, is going to be little less go with the tried and tested formula, and if that has won them 26 ODIs in a row, I think they're just happy with that.
So Kalani says Australia is going to go with that strict mindset of, oh, okay, we're just going to play our best 11, what we feel like. But maybe they still have that chance with Australia A. Players who don't get a chance in that first Australian 11 may just play the Australian A games so that there is a lot of practice and everything available. So that just to an update, when the teams travel down to New Zealand, they'll have a strict 10-day quarantine.
Yes.
And if anyone tests positive between the Australian England teams in the later part of the Ashes, will automatically be ruled out from the World Cup. So that's the reason every player has to be available. That, oh, okay, there's still a chance. Maybe the Australian team management, the English team management does not want this to happen, but who knows what the way the world has changed. Anything and everything can happen. Let's come down to that prediction time. What are your predictions? Who's, of course, Australia is winning it, is what you're going to say.
I
Let's
think
talk about the point system. Let's talk about the 16 points. How are they going to be divided?
it's going to be 10-6 Australia.
10-6 Australia. Ashes test is going to be a draw.
Test is going to be a draw. Given the nature of Canberra, test is going to be a draw.
Okay, so it's a 2-2 there. Where exactly is England winning those 4 more points? One ODI, one T20, two T20s. How exactly?
I think it's going to be one ODI, one T20 for England, and because there's a history again that the way things have happened in the past 2-3 Ashes series, and they are a better ODI side now, so that 75 all out is it's very unlikely to happen. They're better side than that, and so I think one ODI they'll snatch from Australia. It's going to be a close one, the one they'll win, hopefully, and one T20 because bouncing back, I do believe in bouncing back capacities of Australia. So one T20 I'll give to England.
You're giving one T20 to England. That's a bit generous, I think, so from your end. Um, so to the viewers, one Ashes is done. The more competitive Ashes is starting tomorrow, and I'm sure you will be glued to your screens because the Ashes that you just saw was pretty much one-sided. This is going to be more competitive for sure. Tune into the Ashes, three T20s, one Test match, three ODIs. We'll come up with the review. We'll come up with more content. But our World Cup content starts January 24. It's a complete 70-day package, 30 plus interviews, 100 plus shows, overall 100 plus hours of content. Yeah, and a lot more. So do tune into that. The outside view beyond the boundary. Everything is going to start from January 24 as the Indian team leaves for New Zealand the same day. Till then, this is Yash signing off on the outside view live. And we
Thank
will
you.
see you for the Ashes, a lot more stuff. Bye bye.
Thank you.